Okay, this video is about Rotterdam, and this was, as you can see from the little image, the top left. It's kind of rainy that day. That was the day that wasn't so great. Really, the only day that wasn't sunny. But we did a walking tour. It wasn't really raining. It was a little drizzly in the afternoon. Um, and we did a walking tour in the morning, and then they had an optional tour to Delft, and Delft is where they make Delft ware. If you're into pot, what is it? It's like dishes, ceramic dishes, pottery, I guess you would call it. Delft ware is the blue. It's blue and white. It's white with blue, blue designs on it. And I'm not really into that stuff, so I didn't go. I think Lula might have gone. I think Lula went. I think she liked it, but I didn't go. We went on the walking tour after lunch. Well, they went to Delft. Actually, Kathy and Mary went to Delft, and then I think we went on a bike ride. We must have done all this in one day because we were only in Rotterdam for one day. We left early in the morning the next day for Keukenhof. But so anyway, Rotterdam was pretty interesting. Actually, there was one thing I wanted to say too about Amsterdam, which I don't think I've said it. I don't have a script, so I'll throw things in as I think of them. And I don't think I've said this before, but Amsterdam was the original capital of Netherlands. And then when Napoleon came in right around 1800 in that area, he moved the capital to The Hague. All the structure and everything was moved to The Hague. And then after he was removed, after the French were thrown out, they moved the capital back to Amsterdam, but they left all the government buildings and all the government structure in The Hague. So basically has two capitals, Amsterdam, which is the capital, and Hague, which is the government. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, back to Rotterdam. Rotterdam, this is a bridge that's right near the ship. There are actually two bridges, this red one, and then there's a white one down further, and very modern looking. I just took a picture of it. We actually rode back along this bridge on our bike ride. We went out on the white bridge and came back on this red bridge. And this is a picture of the skyline in Rotterdam, or part of the skyline. Rotterdam is one of the most modern cities, probably the most modern city in the Netherlands, because it was almost totally destroyed during World War II. The Randy told us a story. They were fighting in Rotterdam against the Germans, and they were doing better. The Germans weren't doing as well as they thought they should be doing. So they sent them a letter saying, if you don't surrender, we're going to bomb Rotterdam, Amsterdam, and The Hague. And so then the Dutch got this memo, and they looked at it and they said, well, it's not there's no signatures, there's no stamps. How do we know that this is official? So they sent it back and said, we don't know that this is official. So they sent another one back with all the stamps and signatures and everything, said the same thing. And then they said, well, we'll think about it. Well, while they were thinking about it, the Germans started bombing. So they just actually decided to surrender, but it wasn't in time to save Rotterdam. So Rotterdam was in pretty bad shape. It was, they saved Amsterdam and The Hague, but Rotterdam was pretty much destroyed. So a lot of the buildings there are new. Now, this little sculpture in the front right here, this connects, it was kind of hard to get this picture of the whole thing, but it basically connects two buildings. One's older and one's newer. And it's like the uh, connection between old and new. That's the idea of this sculpture, and it's hanging over the water there. And at one point people were throwing shoes and stuff over top of it, so they started calling it the clothesline. I don't know if they still call it that or not, but that's what its name was for a while. Now, in the background, you see a building here, or I'm sorry, a bridge here. There's a big shipbuilding facility, or they build like cruise ships for, expensive ships for people. And trying to get the name right, Jeff Bezos, I think it was him, ordered a ship, and it was very large. It was too large to, and this is I guess this is, the ships have to go under this bridge. This is a really old bridge, and ships have to go through there in order to get out to the water, to the ocean. And so his ship was going to be too big to go through this. So they actually dismantled this bridge and then brought the ship through and then put the bridge back together again. So that's kind of interesting. This building here is one of the few old buildings that are remaining in Rotterdam. That's a pre-war building, I guess several hundred years old. I'm not sure how old it is, but that was one of the few buildings that remained after the city was bombed. And this is the cubes. These buildings, or this building is, these are all apartments. And this was I forget when it was, maybe in the 60s or 70s. Architect decided to build these cubes, but then the government said, well, that you can't fit too many people in these cubes because they're just not like a regular building, a high-rise apartment building where you get like several hundred families. So they also made them build this building to the left to make up for the fact that they could only fit a few families in these buildings, in these cubes. They had to build this building also in order so that they would accommodate more families. And this in the front here is the oldest harbor in Rotterdam. I have another picture later on and a short story about that, but that will wait till later. This is, I had to do a little research about this because I had forgotten what Randy had said about this. But the statue says Loquendi Libertatum Custodium, but it's basically custodian of free speech. This is Pim Fortuyn. Well, he was an instructor in a university in Rotterdam, but he was he changed his beliefs quite a bit from the beginning. He was kind of a Marxist in the beginning, and then he kind of became more libertarian. He founded this party called Pim Fortuyn List, PFL, in the early 2000s. He was libertarian. He was against what he saw as the elitist government in elitist Dutch government that wasn't listening to the people, and he wanted to give a voice to the people. He was also against immigration. He was for strict immigration laws, he was especially against Islam. He was against the Muslims. But this was in 2002, which was right after the Trade Center bombing. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but he founded his own party in early 2002, and they actually got a lot of, they became very popular. I think in 2002, they won 17% of the parliament, and the Dutch have a lot of parties. So 17% is quite a bit. But anyway, he was then assassinated in May of 2002, which kind of ironic that he tried to protect free speech, and then he was assassinated by somebody who didn't agree with his ideas. The base is cracked. That's symbolic of the fact that free speech is always at risk. It's never firm and cohesive. It's something that you really have to keep repairing and keep working at in order to keep it alive. So that was Pim Fortuyn. And this is another picture of the harbor. These are a lot of really old ships, and they don't go very far because, in fact, I don't think any of them ever leaves the harbor anymore. This was, like I said, the original harbor in Rotterdam, and the main entrance to it was closed off, and the only entrance is this little bridge here, which I'm assuming is a drawbridge. I'm not really sure. I think it would have to be in order to let any ships go through. But like I said, these ships are pretty much just blocked in here. I don't think they're like museums or anything. I think they're just ships that people own, and they keep them in this harbor. Now, another thing that I was saying about the bike paths. This is a picture I have of a bike path. This is the White Bridge in Rotterdam. We came over this bridge, then we went to the right here, this way, and then we went back over the Red Bridge. And you can also see more skyline. This is in the other direction, though. This bridge goes over the Maas River, and the reason I took this picture was to show the bike path. The middle here is the bike path, the brown one. This is a good sized road going over the bridge. This is the bike path, and then this is the walking path. And they're all over the place in the Netherlands. They're like, it's so nice to be able to bike ride because there's so many bike paths that you can use even in the middle of the city. And I got one more picture of a bike path. This is kind of hard to see, but over on the left hand where this truck is, this is a main street. This is a cross street here, and this is a bike path. So the road is here, the bike path parallels the street, but it's totally separate. And they even have a line down the middle, so the bike path goes in two directions. And these bike paths are nice. They have their own traffic signal. I think that might be the traffic signal for the bike lane. Might be for the walkers too. They have walkers here, bikes here, but the only problem with the bike lane is that a lot of those bikers are like, I mean, they bike all the time, so they are very confident, very fast, and it can be a bit nerve-wracking. And they also allow motor scooters on the bike paths, so that can be a little nerve-wracking too. But overall, it was a lot of fun bike riding there because they just make it so easy for you to do that. There's another thing that I almost forgot. Down after dinner, they did what they call Homeland of the Crew, and several of the crew members stood up, and this was in the lounge, um, talked about their home countries, which is kind of interesting. Their countries they were like from Serbia, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Croatia, Macedonia, those countries around in there, and I thought they were really interesting. So that's it from Rotterdam. And tomorrow we're doing the Keukenhof, which is a huge tulip exhibition, and that's pretty interesting. So until tomorrow.